This episode of The Corner Office is brought to you by Vistage Worldwide. In business for over 60 years, we exist solely to help high-integrity leaders make great decisions that benefit their families, their businesses, and their communities. Hello, San Gabriel Valley. I'm Jackie Kibler, and I'd like to welcome you to the show From the Corner Office. The purpose of this show is to help those who want to become business owners and CEOs, in addition to those who are trying to find careers or find a new career. We showcase local CEOs to help them in identifying their strengths, their journeys, their obstacles, which provide guidance to those who might be coming after them. Today, I am very fortunate to be speaking with Anna Magzanyan, who is the CEO and publisher for the Los Angeles Business Journal. I have to share with you that I have been a client of the Business Journal now for a few years and absolutely love the work that they've done. Anna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, to get us started, what I'd love to hear about first is your journey. How did you've spent so much time in publishing and media and advertising. You're a success story. I'd love for you to just walk us through your story.
It wasn't my intention actually to be in media and publishing. I stumbled into it more than anything else. It was a psych degree at Cal State Northridge. My original plan was to go into clinical psychology and/or industrial organizational psychology. I was very fascinated by it. I really enjoyed working with people. Even at CSUN, when I was there, we started a student organization called the Multicultural Psychology Association. And when I left Cal State Northridge, I was, what every graduate is doing is looking for a job before they think about their future. So I applied to a bunch of different places. A friend of mine had said, Initiative Media was looking for assistant media buyers. And I thought, I might be interested in more business. Let me try. In the beginning part of your career, you want to try different jobs. So I started at Initiative Media, and right away I was doing assistant buying for the broadcast space, and I loved it. And then I went into cost per point analysis and media planning, account services departments, and spent about 3 or 4 years of my career there. And this was when AOL was taking off, the whole 99, 2000, the dot-com boom. And I actually went over to a more boutique agency, and I started to wear more hats. And I got a lot more experience in working with brands, just kind of played in the account planning space, the media planning space. And really enjoyed it. I worked on a brand that you might be familiar with, Kettle One and Crystal Cruises and Tourism New Zealand. And so it was just really fun. We partnered with great agencies, one of them being M&C Saatchi, and we got to pitch a lot of new business. I got to see a brand from $0 of advertising to really doing some great marketing in the space. And then it was really fun to kind of watch that brand mature, and then it was purchased by Diageo, and it was fun. And I like to think that the marketing had something to do with it, although it was a magnificent brand in itself. And then from there, I went on to the publishing side. I actually was looking for the next step. I didn't know if I wanted to start my own agency or go to another agency, but I was working with an executive recruiter And she had found some opportunities at LA Times. And I knew LA Times. I mean, it was a newspaper entity and
Historic.
And I thought, wow, that could be kind of fascinating to work there. And I met with a gentleman by the name of John O'Loughlin, and he and I talked about how the future of newspaper and how LA Times was going to morph into a multimedia organization with digital and more offerings and really expand that distribution vehicles, but like the content was king at that time.
Sure.
And so in 2005, I took the leap and I went from the agency side to the publishing side. I walked in as a marketing manager, I believe, on B2B space, and I stayed there for about 6.5 years. I had great experiences there, I think so much of my success was having the belief of my leadership and having them support in all the ideas I would come up with. So I was able to be an entrepreneur in a corporate environment, which was fantastic. I got to create products and come up with new ideas of how do we, expand this readership with the LA Times, and how do we create new products in the space and engage more with the community. And so, we developed like the image section, which is the style section for the LA Times, and then the envelope, which was the entertainment coverage and the business of Oscars and all the contenders. And then we worked on an envelope screening series, and I created this event called The Taste, which was
You have to dig a little bit into this, because I am a foodie, and you and I both worked at the LA Times, so we actually had a little bit of a conversation about that.
Funny.
She did amazing work here.
So
go ahead.
just from the liquor side of the experience of my kind of background with Kettle One, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be fantastic with the power of LA Times? Could we put on a food and wine festival in Los Angeles that engages the community, engages the brands, the different kind of alcohol brands that are in the marketplace, and spirits and things of that nature, and also to celebrate the chefs, right? So we had all these chefs that were coming into the market, and it felt like all these restaurants were popping up. Like, how do we do this in a big, meaningful way with the power of the brand? So we did 4 days, 9 events in the course of 3 different markets. We took over Beverly Hills, Hollywood, and downtown the first year. We closed off Broadway between 7th and 8th, and we did a street party with tacos and like it was like a tacos and tequila night from what I remember. And we had a stage, we had brought a band in. For Rodeo Drive, we closed down Rodeo Drive in the evening, and I thought it would be kind of cool to do like desserts after dark or some kind of fun swanky name about that. And then we did that there, and then we took over Paramount Studios, and we did an all-day event where you just got to taste different chefs and different restaurants came to play. It was fantastic. The first year was, there's a lot of learnings in the first year, and we had a great time. But it was, my time at LA Times was very meaningful because, like I said, I got to create as an entrepreneur in a corporate environment, and I got to launch products and do things that I had a passion for, and I thought there was a business entity, and it's kind of fun that after, I think 5 years, The Taste is still a big brand for the LA Times.
It's huge.
It's so fun to kind of watch that over the years, and the envelope continues to be very vital, and the envelope screening series still is there, and the image section is there, and it was a fun kind of transition. From there, actually, from LA Times, I spent some time at iHeartRadio for about a year. I did strategic partnerships. And then I moved over to Hollywood Reporter. Lynn Siegel and I worked together at the LA Times. And when Lynn was the publisher of Hollywood Reporter, she called me and asked if I'd like to join the organization and kind of work with her and Janice as they are revitalizing the Hollywood Reporter, and they've done a phenomenal job. I mean, Janice Min is brilliant, all on her own, and what she's done with the Hollywood Reporter. It was just, I was just grateful to have been there for about, I think it was a little over a year, and just work on the marketing and the branding and the event side of the business. At that point, everything was going video, right? There was a lot of conversations about video. the gaming was taking off. The business was, everything was, digital is shifting, it's changing. So I wanted to get some video content experience. I wanted to consult for a couple different brands and just kind of see where that would take me. And I got to work with Omni Media, and it was a very young organization. I think the CEO at the time, Timur, was 24, and
Wow.
and his number 2 guy that was running the gaming, when I met Austin, I believe he was like 18 or 19. And
That's crazy.
It was so fun. I remember the first day I went in for an interview to work with them. I'm dressed up, I'm in heels, I'm suit or something, and everyone is just t-shirt, jeans, and relaxed. I'm like, oh, next day I showed up in my Converse t-shirt and jeans, and it was just fun. And I got to work with them and really rethink the business. And kind of elevate their brand and their marketing and their PR, and do some events with some of the gaming guys. I got to work with a team of gamers called the Sidemen that were based in London to just overall their marketing strategies. And I was very famous with my 13-year-old because I was working with the Sidemen, and these are all the YouTube guys that he watches.
Wow.
And all the gaming guys. So it was really cool, and we did a lot of branding and kind of brand deals with them, and we worked on a lot of, I did some travel with them. I went to London and back, and and Boston, and some of the events on the gaming side, and it was just great because I loved the fact that I was learning one more thing in media, one
Sure.
more and way of kind of engaging with an audience, and now this new audience, this younger generation, that how they consume media. And then Omni Media had sold, and I left the organization. Because there was no more need. They had elevated the marketing, and the marketing was going to be handled all centralized through a company in Canada. And that same day that the sale was happening and that conversation happened, it was really funny. I received a LinkedIn message from Matt Toledo, who was the CEO of the LA Business Journal.
Right.
And he invited me to breakfast, and we had a fun conversation. Invited me to join the organization to kind of elevate the events experience and work a little bit with marketing. So I was, at first I started consulting for the Los Angeles Business Journal, and then he invited me to join full-time to oversee his sales and marketing organization. It was a little tricky. I had never really ran a sales organization before. I was always the ideation person. I came up with the ideas, and then I would work with a sales partner to take it to market or to talk to a client, and it was fun. At the same time, but I was very nervous. I said, I don't know how to run a pipeline of sales calls. Like, I don't know how that works. And he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about the business. And then in May, I was invited to be the publisher and CEO of the Los Angeles Business Journal.
What did you think when you had that conversation?
I thought, are you kidding? Well, Matt had been there for 23 years, and so there was a lot of familiarity for him in the market. He knew all the CEOs. He knew everybody who's anybody in LA business. Everybody knows Matt. You know, it's just how it is. So I was a bit intimidated by it, nervous, because Matt and I made a good team. Like it's so important in any organization as you work. Like if you're, you and your direct report, which is your boss, have to see eye to eye on things, or you're able to complement like the vision he has, or to be able to execute the right way that you're doing. So we always had like great conversations and great brainstorming and coming up with good ideas. And I'm the person that comes up and goes, what if we do this? What if we do that? And what made me nervous was, like who do I have that conversation with now? Like who is the person that's going to tell me, that's a bad idea, don't do it, you know? Or I don't think that's gonna work, or, so, because I could come up with 10 ideas during the day, and maybe 2 might be great, and the other 8 might be horrible, and I don't know. And so I was nervous, but I was very, very excited, and the business community has been so welcoming, and Matt had a lot to do with it. I mean, he's been so fantastic as publisher emeritus to open a lot of doors and to be able to introduce me to the business community. And I was nervous, but it's now been 7 months, and I feel better. Like I feel stronger in the conversations, and I'm having a good time.
Who is the person that you bounce ideas off now?
It's funny, I have a nickname for them. There's 3 people in my world outside of the organization that I call them my consigneries. I quote a lot of movies. I'm a movie buff. And I don't know if you know, that's like from Analyze.
Of course.
And
any Italian I got.
I have a few folks in my network that I've known for probably a couple of decades. There's a gentleman by the name of Jordan Harris I've worked with before, and he has become a great partner. And there's a couple of other folks within the business community that I might do that with. Internally, I've put together what I call like a fantastic team of a head of sales, a head of our editorial department, our editor. I have a head of digital now that we brought on board, and our production person, Nina, who runs our production team and our creative strategy team, and my head of operations. So in some cases, I'll put together a sales team for an idea. If it's something bigger than just a sales opportunity and it's more of a marketing or strategy shift, I'll pull the team in and I'll say, this is my idea, now let's try to break it. What's wrong with it? And at first they look at me like, no, it's a good idea. I'm like, no. Let's
find the gaps.
Let's find the gaps. Let's find the gaps. There's got to be gaps. What are we not thinking of? What could go wrong? What could not work with this? Or my biggest strength, and I think is part of my biggest flaw, is that I don't like status quo. I don't like, even if something works, I don't like to do it the same.
Sure.
I always like to do some improvement of something. And sometimes when I say it's a biggest flaw too, or one of the flaws is that, sometimes when something works, you shouldn't really try to change it, right? And so that there comes some of that in there. And I'll always, every event that we're prepping for, 3-4 months down the road or 6 months down the road, I'll say like, what do we do? What do we do better? What do we do more? What do we do less of? How do we make this more engaging? How do we bring more value to our sponsors who are putting their money? Everybody has a limited budget, like putting their money to partner with us at this event.
Right.
How do we make it work for them? And so that we have these conversations every Tuesday morning. So that will probably stay.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So when you think about, let me rephrase this. So with every CEO that I've spoken with at Vistage, and CEOs that I've interviewed on the show, there's usually some poignant or pivotal time that makes a person think about, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have tried it a different way. What would be the obstacle or an opportunity or a failure that you learned the most from?
I have a few. I probably have a few.
Just one that sticks out.
Gosh, most recently or in my career?
All up to you.
Okay. I would say most recently there was an event we were prepping for, and traditionally it's something small, but it ended up being a big deal. And this is kind of funny in that way. It was an event that was done in the evenings, and I thought, gosh, they're coming in the evenings, and it's kind of a cocktail reception event. I think it'd be so much better if we did a sit-down lunch, and really, and catered the lunch and brought it in. My intentions were good.
Sure.
My intentions were to make it more, of an experience, and not people are running from work and grabbing a drink, and it wasn't even a dinner before; it was just drinks, and. It ended up not working, and it was one of those situations where I kept beating myself up, like, why aren't people participating? Why aren't they wanting to do this? Well, sure enough, the industry of which that event was for, these folks cannot leave during the day. This is their prime time. And what I mean by that is they're billed by their hours of work. So to take a 3-hour lunch for any company is very difficult. However, in some cases you could make that as a networking lunch and move. But when you are removing a specific industry without looking at how this industry it makes their money and they're compensated for their time, it was folks that would not be working for 3-4 hours in the day that they cannot make up in the evening hours because that's when their day ends. And it wasn't as successful, and it cost more money to do the lunch, obviously, and to do all those things, but it wasn't as successful. And I thought to myself, like, God, what am I missing? What am I missing? And what I was missing was I didn't understand the industry. I didn't understand how they spend their day. So that was a huge learning curve for me. As I'm a creative person in general, like I like to create business units and I like to create experiences for people. Sometimes I need to step back and say, okay, how does this person spend their day?
Sure.
How are they making their money? From a lawyer to an accountant to somebody in marketing to a business owner, an entrepreneur, a startup, they're all very different. A startup can work 24 hours in a day and they're really not affected in between 11 to 1:30, but an attorney might be. A CFO, you don't do stuff for CFOs during, when tax season is. And you don't schedule events around that time and things like that. So even the simplest thing, like that is just kind of stopping and doing my research first.
Right.
That is probably my biggest learning overall in my career, is that I'm very gung-ho about an idea and I get very, very excited and I want to move forward and I don't want any obstacles to stop us, but I have to stop myself and go, okay, think, what do I need to know about this business or entity? That's why I always ask the team, like, poke holes at it. What am I missing? Because I don't want to have many of those mistakes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know your life, even from what I know, is filled with successes. Really quickly, because I also want to ask you about industry
Sure.
stuff and what you look for. What would be a success that you've had that you are most proud of?
Personal or business?
Either.
Okay, either.
I like that you asked that. You're the first person that's asked that.
My kiddos. As a working mom, so I married my next door neighbor. I kept it really easy. He was there, he was available, so why not? He's a great guy. I've known him since I was 6 years old, funny enough. And we have 2 kids. And I would say my kids are my successes. I managed to travel and work so hard all my years, and it's in my DNA. I love being a career woman. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but a businesswoman or a business person, right? It doesn't matter if you're a woman or male, but a business person. But I have 2 kids, and I have a family, and I was able to still embed some grounded, the cultural things. That one, they are good. They're good kids. They're truly, truly good kids. And anybody who knows me and knows my kids, they will be nodding their heads at this point. I mean, I have a daughter who's graduated top of her class at school. Did great community work. Played sports. Now is at UC San Diego as a biochem major.
Wow.
And doing fantastic. And she's my best friend, and we laugh about the silliest things all the time. And she thinks I'm quirky and weird, and I think she's funny and conservative. My son is, polar opposite, but very much like me. He's just this funny rascal of a kid, and knowing how to kind of work with him in the sense of just to get the best out of him and get him motivated in school. And he's more into, programming and videos and video gaming. I was very, that was really kind of one of the reasons why I love that I joined the gaming industry and for a minute, and I understood that because I understood the things he was watching. I looked at Minecraft. I actually played Minecraft with him. I looked at all the YouTube videos. I wanted to see what he was watching and to make sure, one, it's safe, and two, to be able to relate to him and talk to him, and the fact that I know who KSI is, it was very cool.
You are a cool mom.
So I tried. So those are my successes, I would say, more than anything else, that I was able to keep that balance. And I have friends. I travel with my friends. I have the best friends I've known for many, many years. And just to keep I think that the biggest success of mine is just allowing myself to keep balance and make time for my family and make time for my friends and to stay focused on business. It's never been like one or the other for me. It's just been I could do it all.
Yes, you know? I see that in you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got about a minute and a half left.
Sure.
I would love to understand from you, if I was trying to get into, whether it's publishing or media, how would I do that? So we've got about a minute and a half left.
Okay. Well, I would say school is important, absolutely. I mean, understanding the journalism and content is extremely key. But I think it's more than that now, and you really need to understand digital. You really need to understand programming. You really understand keywords and how to get that content out to folks.
Okay.
And how to be able to do it in an efficient, intelligent way, how to write a headline that can really appeal to your audience. And just be real to the content space.
What about personality? What do you, if I'm interviewing with you, different than this type of interview?
Yeah. I like real people. I mean, I'm not looking for a certain type. I always say I hire pieces of a puzzle. Every person in our organization is unique, and they bring unique traits. No two people are alike. I don't have a certain type of person that I'm hiring for, and that this person has to be like this for this department. It's more, I look at what do I currently have in the organization and what the new hires are going to complement with the organization that we have. For example, if it's simple thing as like an events team or the publishing team or like the editorial side of this business is, who do we have that's really great in this category of business, and how are they doing this other side of every person brings a unique trait. I think timing is key. I think what the organization needs is key. I also love personalities. At the end of the day, we spend a lot of time together, so I want to be able to have fun. I'm probably 65% serious, 35% fun at work. So I like to be able to have that culture because I think you could get a lot out of people when you are, business all the time, but you also need to be able to smile and, enjoy your job.
Absolutely. Anna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I think you've definitely helped our viewers, and I love talking to you and spending time with you. And thank you, San Gabriel Valley, for joining us for another show of From the Corner Office. I look forward to seeing you in the future.